All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and others of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. It's the brother Aina from GMS Atlanta. And just wanted to touch on the topic of, don't allow yourself to, quench the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Scriptures say, put not off the Lord from day to day, which actually we can start with that. All right, because pretty much when it comes down to it, that's the only thing that we should be focusing on. You know what I mean? The return of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Think about, we should be thinking about that. Okay? And seeing what's going on in the earth, all right, and reporting it. So this is Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 5 verse 7. All right, it says, and make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Meaning you shouldn't be waiting, okay, all day long, all right, waiting for something to happen. But things are going on, though. Things are going on, but it may not be going on in your backyard, your literal backyard, but they're going on in the earth. All right, and us as watchmen, all right, we're going out and we are reporting on the things that we are seeing. Okay, make sure I got this. All right, cool. I'm driving to the airport. Got to make sure I don't miss my turn. It says, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai come forth. And that's what the scriptures say about Yahweh Shai coming as a thief in the night. Okay, he's gonna come as a thief in the night. So guess what? If you asleep, okay, like the scriptures say in Isaiah, his watchmen are dumb dogs, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Let me get that real quick. Which I'm gonna get back to that 1 Thessalonians 5. But this is Isaiah chapter 56 and verse 10. It says, his watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant, they are all dumb dogs, they cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Okay, you shouldn't be a dumb dog, meaning a dog that doesn't bark, a dog that's not on his watch. That's what the purpose of a dog is for, to stay on. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure to stay on his watch, man. To stay on the watch, a watchdog. So if you, like the scriptures say in Zechariah, if you settled on your lees, right? If you basically too, comfortable here on this, on this side, all right, and basically, the only time that you feel like being in the spirit is, when the stars align, all right, and when when the temperature is perfect, you know what I mean, the humidity, everything is perfect conditions, then what kind of prophet are you? Okay, Apostle Ramlab did a video a couple of weeks ago, titled, you don't have to be in the spirit to do a lesson. All right, because guess what? Sometimes, when it's time to go to camp, or, time to fellowship with the brothers, or whatever the case may be, and it's time to, get in the spirit, you may not automatically be in the spirit at the beginning. All right, but guess what ends up happening is that you get in the spirit, man, once you start. All right, and the Lord, he's gonna start requiring more of us, man. All right, of us brothers that came in to the truth, and we put our hand to the plow. All right, because what's gonna end up happening is more people are gonna start coming into the fold. right. I mean, we've seen the growth for brothers that's been around, for a couple years plus. You know what I mean? You see the growth, and it's only going to continue to grow. Okay. And so we got to make sure that we are apt to teach. And I'm driving, while getting the scriptures, but you gotta strike while the iron's hot, man. You know what I mean? I prayed to Yahweh Shem Yahushai before I started driving that I get to my destination safely. So I got faith, that the Lord's gonna keep me safe. All right, as long as I don't do nothing reckless. This is 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 24. Okay, it says, "And the servant of the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient, in meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves." You see, so we got to become masters of our craft. All right, what does the scripture talk about? Our profession. All right, so we should be operating on a certain level, man, over time, and continuously leveling up in the spirit. Okay. Now I want to get this word apt, if I may. All right, that word for apt. Oh, apt to teach. So it's classified as one. Oh, yeah. I've looked this word up before. Yeah, G1317, didacticos. All right. It says apt and skillful in teaching. All right, instructive. I just want to look up the word apt. When you look up the word apt, it means suitable or inclined. Appropriate or suitable, or having the tendency to do something. So appropriate or suitable and skillful in teaching. All right, that's what we should be focusing on. Okay, let's go back here. All right, to Sirach chapter 5 and 7. It says, "Make no tarrying to turn to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of Yahweh Shem Yahushai come forth, and in thy security." See, because that's the thing. Once you get comfortable, all right, you take your socks off at the end of the day. You pop your toes. You know what I mean? You might put on some Marvin Gaye, or you know what I mean? Sip a little wine, sip a little yayan. Okay, but what did you do for Yahweh Shem Yahushai? That day is what you should be thinking about before you lay down. Okay, because we want to be found as good and faithful servants. Okay, and really, your spirit condemns you. You know what I mean? Once you do certain things, or you abstain from doing spiritual things, your spirit, the spirit of the Lord steps in and gets active, man. Okay, make sure I'm not missing my exit. Cool. You know what I mean? So the spirit of the Lord make you do a lesson. You know what I mean? Because of fear. Because really, that's why it says in the last of this verse here, it says, "And in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance." You see that? So the Lord ain't playing around. Like, the day of vengeance is coming, but here it is, you comfortable as hell, but the day of vengeance is on its way. Everything is preparing and approaching. All right, and getting ready for the day of the Lord. Okay, but you not getting ready with the information and the knowledge that you have as a believer in Yahweh Shai. You know that you need to be constantly, if you know the scriptures, all right, if we know the scriptures, man, we should be teaching the scriptures, bro. constantly exhorting one another. Okay. Well, that's Hebrews the 10th chapter. All right. Exhorting one another. Hebrews the 10th chapter, man. Okay. Let's see if I got the magic. If I got the magic word search down. Let's see. Yes, sir. Hebrews 10 and 25. All right, and also the verse 23, because I mentioned that word profession. Hebrews 10 and 23, it says, "Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised." Yeah. Okay. So yeah, man, fight. Put up a fight, man. Stop being weak. Stop losing to the flesh every time, and you losing because you're not even putting up a fight. You're just letting Satan beat the hell out of you. Okay, overcome. Okay, the Lord, hey man, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, he smiles upon that. Like, really, man, we could do a lesson and just spark up a lesson. You should be able to do one at a moment's notice. You know what I mean? Like, one thing about being around the apostles, like, well, Apostle Rakah is the apostle that I spent the most time around. I haven't really spent any time around Apostle Tahar or Apostle Gabar. I spent a little bit of time around Apostle Aramlab, but mostly around Apostle Rakah. And basically with him, like, he'll be like, we'll be fellowshipping, and then, all of a sudden, like, he's always pretty much always in the spirit, speaking of spiritual things when he's around us. And it's like a non-stop, like, faucet, you know what I mean? It just doesn't turn off. And basically, the point I was trying to make is, like, he'll just be talking, and then he'll be like, you know what, hey brothers, let's do a lesson. Whoever want to, get down for a lesson, he'll just spark it up. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much how it should be. Like, we should be able to just do it, because really, like, we think it's like, okay, after, like, this one thing I'm kind of like am starting to realize, knowing the truth, eventually it becomes normal to know the truth to us. Like let's say you've been in the truth, you know what I mean, and you used to, going to the camp, and it's become a lifestyle, being around the brothers and everything like that, to the point where it's not like you forget what it's like to be in the world, because we always remember, like, before we came into the truth, but it's like you just used to having the knowledge, you know what I mean? Well, to the point where, like, being without the knowledge would feel like foreign and alien. And so, but the thing is, that's a majority of these people's, like, experience here on the earth. Like, they don't really know the scriptures, even, like, okay, case in point, anti-Messiah Christians, right? Like, man, these people, they go to church, been going to church for decades, years and years. They say that, I want to, a man that, has a relationship with God. That's what these women say, right? And, these men say, yeah, I believe in the Bible. Come on, man. And basically, they don't know the scriptures. You ask them about basic, like, and it's not even about, like, who knows the most. I'm talking about basic stuff. Hey, have you read the story of, David and Goliath, or, like, like the 12 tribes of Israel, like, you know what I mean? The Christian, anti-Messiah Christians, they don't really go into the Bible like that. You know what I mean? So even just milk scriptures, you know what I mean? Like we go into all the time, Job 9 and 24, you know what I mean? Basic milk scriptures to the average listener, man. To be honest, that's enough for them. You could do 100 videos on the basics and it still be edifying. You know what I mean? And even if you get 0 views, which Esau be messing with the views, even if you get 0 views, hey, you getting your reps in, bro. Because when the day of the Lord comes, all right, you're not gonna just be able to just snap into a Slim Jim if you ain't been if you ain't been spiritually exercising. Okay, you need to be constantly, well, like the scripture says here. All right, let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. Okay, not forsaking. So how do we provoke each other unto love? We pushing each other, we're encouraging each other to do these videos and do these lessons and, you know, continue to fight. Okay, it says not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is. Yeah, you know, like if you say you believe in the Lord but you ain't assembling with the body, you know what I mean, brothers getting together, and you got some other, you know, you got something else going on every time, then you're really not trying to be part of the body. You don't want to forsake the assembly. Okay, you know, not everybody has the opportunity. Some brothers, you know what I mean, are in remote areas and the Lord got them just by themselves, or maybe with one other brother, you know what I'm saying? So if you if you have the ability to fellowship, even coming to the camp, that's why I be telling, you know, when I was in Dallas, I was telling the brothers, man, like, you know, you brothers that come out to the camp, that's not a light thing. Even if you're not in the camp at this very moment, that's the fact that you coming out to the camp, that's a heavy thing. You know what I mean? And so, you know, anyway, it says, but exhorting one another, and that's the point. All right, exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching. So that all this goes into the topic. All right, stop quenching the spirit, man. Okay, because your own spirit, I'm saying. All right, because our potential, hey, we can never maximize our potential of being in the spirit. In this flesh, all right, we can always do more. Okay, we could do 3 videos a day, every single day. You can still do more. All right, but we you know, we in this flesh, so obviously there's other stuff that we have to tend to. You know what I mean? We got to go to work, you know, if brothers have families or whatever. But that's why the elders, you know, suggest for brothers who don't have you know, like family, like, you know, children and stuff like that, because that slows you down. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? The woman, you know, it slows you down. Now, I'm not saying you can't, you know, I'm not saying you can't deal with no woman. Of course, we all, you know, brothers mostly deal with women. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, you should attain or strive to attain that, you know, that perfection, like Yahushua said, be ye therefore perfect as my Father in heaven is perfect. Okay, you should really strive, you know, continually, because you know that woman, man, is gonna eventually try to suck you out of the truth. Let's just be 100, like, you know what I mean? You know, because they got demons on them. You know what I mean? And, you know, you pray for your woman, you pray over your woman. You know what I mean? That she, you know, don't have so many demons on them. Don't have so many demons on her. But you shouldn't let that block you. Know whether she got demons on her or not. You know what I mean? You shouldn't let that block you from basically, you know, doing your duties, man. All right. So I'm gonna end off on this because I'm arriving at my destination. Okay. 1 Thessalonians 5 and what was it? 1 Thessalonians 5 and where was it at? Verse 19. All right, it says, quench not. Well, hold on, let me start at verse 17. All right, pray without ceasing. That right there, that's gonna get you out of a lot of trouble. All right, as long as you continue to pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. Hey, you know what I mean? The Lord might still, he might still have some more mercy on you than he would if he wasn't praying. Despise not prophesying. Yeah, you know, you see a video come up, you know what I mean, and you just, a demon will hop on you. You know what I mean? Thinking something negative about the video just because you're not in the spirit. Nah. You know what I mean? Watch the video or click watch later so it can pop up on your feed later on. You know what I'm saying? If it's a longer video, you know. It says, prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. Okay. Abstain from all appearance of evil. All right, that's why we don't want to be seen with nigglets. Okay, we don't want to be associated with the black nigga culture. Okay, because it's basically evil, man. Let's just call a spade a spade. We don't want to be associated with them, man. All right, because we know 2/3 of our people here in Babylon the Great, they're not gonna make it. They don't care about the Lord, so they're not gonna have mercy. They're not gonna receive mercy, I should say. It says in verse where was the one I wanted? I think it was up. Oh, verse 19. Oh, I think I might have read it already, but yeah, verse 19 says, "Quench not the spirit." Okay, so that's the point. All right, whenever the Spirit of the Lord is on you, you go in to whatever the Lord is going to speak through you, and have faith in the Lord. Okay, let me get that word quench. Sbenumi. Extinguish. Yeah, you should be on fire. So if you're suppressing or stifling the spirit, then you quenching the fire. Guess what? That light gonna go out. The Lord gonna remove your candlestick, and you're gonna give it to somebody.